All right, welcome everyone to our wellness webinar brought to you by Thrive Aid. Now, my name is Priscilla Cholwe Muziamba, a very familiar face to you, of course, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. And now, if you're joining us for the very first time, we are Thrive Aid, and we're basically a youth-led nonprofit organization whose mission is to aid young people in actualizing their potential and capitalizing on their abilities to achieve success. So our thematic areas are around mentorship, education, and mental health. And that is why we have come up with this initiative where we have a wellness webinar to talk about all things mental health and self-care. So if you want to know more about us, please do check us out on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on YouTube. And if you link with them, it's not too late for them to join. But if at all they miss this session, just look out for our social media platforms. We're going to post this on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and on Facebook as well. Now, today I'm not alone. We have a very important topic to discuss and a very special guest in our I hope the network will not betray us today, Hope. But I would just like to say welcome to our wellness webinar, and thank you so much for availing us with your time. So now, even as we get into this, we'll just give the floor to you just to introduce yourself and just tell us a bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay, thank you very much, Priscilla, for having me today. I'm honored to be here. So my name is Hope Ezra Mukwinda, and I'm a clinical officer by profession, a mental health advocate, which is my favorite title, mental health advocate, and I'm an Africa Union, European Union Youth Advisory Board member under the Youth Voices Lab program. So basically, that's that about me. Oh, and I'm also an author. I write books on mental health, resilience, as well as just personal development and career development. Thank you very much.
Hello. Is
Can
the
you get
network
me?
already betraying us? Okay, we can get you now.
Where did you lose me from? Hello.
Hi, we can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
Where did you lose? Yeah, I can get you. I can get you.
Okay, great. Okay, so I think we lost you when you were talking about that saying that you're an author. You were telling us that you were an author.
Okay, so I was saying that I'm an author. I write books about mental health, resilience, as well as career and personal development. So basically, that's me.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, because I am joined by my co-moderator, and that is my
Sorry, Priscilla, you are frozen. I think your network or mine, but you froze at some point.
Oh no, but can you hear me now?
Yes, I can get you now.
Okay, Matilda, are you in?
I think Matilda is having challenges with her either network or her technical glitches.
She's frozen too.
Yes, if you're able to just proceed with the webinar, I think that would be great.
Okay, okay. Okay, so we'll just need to, I don't know, figure out how to move and operate with this network issue. But moving on, Hope, not too long ago, a few days ago, we were commemorating the World Suicide Prevention Day. And I mean, this week has been busy. We've seen a lot of people, trying to contribute to that day in one way or another. But before we care and how issues such as mental health affect young people, right? So what did that day mean to you? I can imagine you were busy as well, and you were participating in a lot of activities that were going on that day. But to you as Hope, what does that day mean to you?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. And personally, I have a personal story to tell as far as suicide goes. Not with me, but I've lost a loved one to suicide. I lost my father to suicide some couple of years ago, could be 11 or so. Yes, so for me, the day for commemorating the Suicide Prevention Day, or rather week, is not just one of those days that we tick off the calendar, but it is a personal story of which I do believe that as far as suicide is concerned, if it's not you having the suicidal ideations, there's somebody in your life that has either committed suicide or still going through the same thing. Like they say about HIV/AIDS, if you're not affected, if you're not infected, you're affected. So it's the same with suicide. It could not be you who's going through, or having any suicidal ideation, but it could be another person in your life, or rather someone who's committed suicide or who has attempted suicide before. So for me, that's a day of hope. Just, being able to preach to somebody out there to say, you're never alone. There's always somebody there to walk with you. Sometimes they might not give you the exact thing that you really need at that particular time for you to come out of the problems that you think they are too much for you, that hence you opting to suicide. But then there's just a person to listen to. There's just somebody telling you to say, oh, you're also going through this. Even me, have gone through this, or I know somebody who's gone through this. So for me, that particular day is a personal journey. It's a personal story to tell that there is hope at the end of the day. Let's, walk together, walk with somebody, be somebody's safe space. During the candlelight session, I was telling the participants there. I was privileged to MC the event that was at Ridgeway campus. I was telling them to say, we need to be safe spaces for other people, but before you are somebody else's safe space, be your own safe space. What thoughts are you entertaining in your head? If you know that, okay, there are certain heavy thoughts that are coming upon you, let's say with regards to suicide, or you're having these suicidal ideations, you need to begin to reshape your thoughts, begin to just find help, so that you have that inner peace in you, so that you're a safe space to yourself before you are a safe space to another person. So basically that's that. The day for prevention, the suicide prevention day, is not just a mere day that we tick off the calendar, but it's an important day where we just assure people that you're never alone. You're not walking this journey alone. There's somebody there with you. There's somebody walking this journey alone. And also to remember that it could be, maybe you just heard it on the news to say person A, B, C, D committed suicide. Just a few minutes ago, a friend of mine mentioned me in a post, like currently, like it was a live video. I'm sure they're still at the site. Somebody from Mukwinda province has climbed a network tower. They're trying to jump and commit suicide. So you know that every day a life is lost to suicide. Every day there's a person out there, having, suicidal ideations. So this is a very important day to affirm our loved ones, to remember the ones that we've unfortunately lost, and to also just be a safe space for somebody. Thank you very much. Priscilla, over to you. Priscilla, are you there?
Okay, you had frozen, but I think I got you there. Okay, thank you so much for sharing that with us, and it really is an important topic, especially when it comes to young people. And I like that you've said, and so now tell us about your work. How have you gotten to mental health advocacy? How have you gotten to this point in life where you wear so many hats? You're a legal scholar, you're a youth leader, but you're also a mental health advocate. So how have you come to this point in life?
Okay, thank you very much. So to start with, I think I like sharing this story, especially with my former uni classmates. They know I never used to like mental health as a course back when I was doing my clinical medicine training. I never used to like mental health because of many reasons. But then it's funny that now it's something that I hold so dear to my heart. And I was telling people at the candlelight session to say you are your advocacy. What you are going through or what you are or relate closely to is something that you begin to speak about. So for me, coming down to this path of mental health advocacy is both from experience as well as I've been a patient or rather a victim of depression, chronic depression, post-traumatic stress disorder as well as anxiety. And for a very long time, it went on untreated until, at a certain period of time where I just got to say, you know what, I'm not helping myself. I lived with these things for about over 3 years, my entire university years. I was having these mental health problems. And then it just dawned on me that there are other people out there who are going through the same things, and they just need a voice, because I couldn't speak up about a lot of things. I used to be a very brilliant person back in uni, not to even toot my own horns, but I used to be a brilliant student in uni, winning awards, best graduating students and whatnot. But what nobody knew was that I was battling depression during that same particular time. I was busy winning awards. I was battling depression. I had PTSD, I had anxiety and all those things. And I never used to talk about them, not even to even my closest friend. I would be in a room with a close friend, but they don't know all these things. So it dawned on me to say, how many people out there are like me who are going through a lot of things, but they never talk about it. And I saw how detrimental it is not to talk about your struggles, because then you constantly get to feed on these negative thoughts. You get to feed on these so uncomfortable thoughts. And then I realized there are so many people out there who are going through this, but then we don't want to talk about them. So I decided to be that voice. And also another thing that prompted me to just be all hands on advocacy is, like I mentioned, my father's suicide. It just got to me, and then I realized that at the end of the day, we are all going through something, and we are not bold enough to talk to somebody about it. So you may not be the one with the voice, but another person can be a voice for you. And through that voice, you're able to, just pick up certain things and say, oh, if this person can overcome ABCD, even me can be that person. So as far as my advocacy journey is concerned, it both sprouts from lived experiences as well as the experiences around from people around me, and also my line of work, that is clinical medicine. You get to meet a lot of people who are going through mental health conditions, but they are manifesting as medical conditions. So you might be treating a headache. Kanshi, someone is just having insomnia due to a trauma that happened maybe years ago, a few days ago. So basically, for me, it's something that I live on, and just decided to be a voice for the people who are struggling in silence. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. I like that, and I like that you've actually told us straight that at a point you didn't even like that course in particular. Yeah, but then later on you got to really do a whole lot with that. And which brings me to your books. I mean, you've written books. And so tell us how you got to that point. What books have you written and how did you write a whole book? It's difficult for us to even just finish a book, but you went ahead and wrote a book. So tell us about that.
Okay, first of all, I always like to say that it's entirely the grace of God. Um, sometimes we think we don't have it in us, but the moment you start something, God's grace is sufficient. And the Bible says He blesses the work of your hands. So if you don't do anything with your hands, He has no platform or anything to bless. So the moment you decide to do something and say, God, I want to do this, He's there to supply, the resources, could be human resource, financial resources, and all those things. So I've two books, now three, oh no, actually three, yeah, three. Yeah, I've actually written three books. One is, my first book is basically an autobiography, but inclined to resilience. It talks about resilience. I speak about my life from the time my mom was sick, because my mother died when I was like 13, and she was poisoned at work. So, she had a period of where she was sick for consistently like 8 months. So that took a toll on us as a family, both financially, spiritually, and emotionally. So I talk about that in there. I also talk about my father's suicide. And then I just talk about how I survived uni as a depressed child, as well as, how I just got to become at the end of the day. So basically, it's a book on resilience and Christianity. Then my second book is on men's mental health, like strictly men's mental health, but it's a book that everybody should read. As long as you have interaction with men, you have to read this book, especially if you're a boy mom. This is a book that you would have to, to read. So I write about men's mental health because I do believe that in the days of today, I think this has been, a thing of the past where men are considered to be strong. We look at them like these, shining armors, strong people. They are not supposed to struggle. Even if they admit that they are struggling, you are like, eh, this man is not enough. This not is not a man enough. We even look down on them. So this is a book that has about 8 stories, 8 fictional stories, but crafted on evidence-based craftedness, where, through the interactions that I've had with different men, as well as my psychotherapy clients, I've crafted this book to, just tell the story of how people are struggling, but they are not, coming out. Then my third book, which announced the release, should have been on the 25th of August to mark the first year anniversary for Night in Shining Armor, which is the men's mental health book, is called, now I'm forgetting my books. Is it even normal? Okay, so it's called Crowns in the Furnace. So Crowns in the Furnace is basically a book that talks about my Christian journey, but entirely. So it's about 50 compilations, 50 conversations, honest conversations about God, becoming, loss, in terms of grief, and as well as the pain. We go through a lot of pain, especially as Christians. We go through a lot of things, but then we tend to think that life is all rosy and all, but at the end of the day, it's the struggles that we go through in life that tend to make us become. So life is either, life will throw you in a fire, but then the choice to either burn or become entirely lies in your hands. So that is what Crowns in the Furnace is about. I used to do a blog. I used to have a blog, but because of time and a lot of things to do, I wasn't really consistent, especially when I went into full-time employment. I wasn't really consistent, so I couldn't blog. So what I did with it was I compiled the blogs that I did from my previous times that I used to blog, and then added a couple of other episodes to it, especially what I've learned from the times that I stopped blogging up until now. So it's basically 50 honest conversations on God, pain, loss, as well as just becoming. So basically, yes, that's that about my writing journey.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I actually need a copy of your book, especially the one on men's mental health, because what you've said is actually very true. You know, there are always these myths and misconceptions around men's mental health to say, Mamuna Samalila, a man should be strong. But then none of us have really tried to, apart from you, of course, who's written the whole book, but we've not tried to really look into how to handle a man's mental health, be it your father, your brothers, your husband, your boyfriend, whatever man is in your life. So I need a copy of that book. We need to talk hope after this. Yeah. So which actually brings me to my next question. In Africa, if we can narrow it down to even Zambia, it's difficult to speak about issues to do with mental health. For example, you've talked about depression in an African, in a normal African or typical African setup, when you talk about depression, they'll be like, you are depressed. Like it's not really relevant to them to say, I'm going through something, I'm depressed, and I think I need attention. So even when we're going through something, we'd rather keep it to ourselves in our households, we'll keep it away from our parents or our guardians. But then what do you think are some of the things that we've overlooked with regards to if someone is heading towards the direction of suicide? Because most of us usually say, oh no, they just committed suicide out of nowhere, but in actual sense there were some usually
Manzi.
overlook who ends up committing suicide.
For you that I can't.
Hello.
Hello, I lost you. You were breaking. You can kindly just repeat what you said.
Okay, but can you hear me now?
Hello?
Are you able to hear me now? Hello.
Seems the network is really bad. You can barely get what anyone is saying. I'm sure that's why okay, she's back.
Hi, Hope. Are you back?
Hello, can you get me?
Yes, we can get you.
Yes, I'm back. I out.
Ah, okay. We need to muddle through this network for a good cause.
Anyway, I'm in Pika, so I don't expect much. I'm even shocked that
Ah, I know. Okay, so I think basically what I was trying to ask before the network interruptions were that, we were talking about where we live. We're in Africa, we're in Zambia. And usually when you talk about issues to do with depression, they're not taken with the seriousness that you would hope it would be taken with. And if you talk about depression in an African household, it doesn't really seem relevant. And when someone commits suicide, we start to wonder how that happened and why it happened. It seems so abrupt, but usually there are some signs that we just did not pay attention to because we overlooked them. And so that brings me to my question, which is, what are some of the signs that you would say are there that we've overlooked when it comes to, someone taking their own life? Are there, some telltale signs that you would say, okay, this is the direction this person is heading, and maybe we can chip in and help? How can you help someone who is suicidal?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. So mostly you'll be able to see that somebody is going through something, especially as far as depression goes. Most of the times people who do suicidal ideations, they've had prior encounters, could be maybe silently battling depression, or you just see that this person's behavior has changed. For example, the signs of depression would be that the person loses interest in doing the things that they used to do. You see, maybe Erica used to love going out for food, to watch football, or just go out for a drink. But then the moment you start telling her, Erica, can we go to this place? It's like, no, I don't want. Like for a consistent number of times that she's, her mood just becomes so depressed. So depression would give some people suicidal ideations. So depression, is having these symptoms like low moods. Other people would have, weight changes, which is either weight gain or weight loss. But this what I'm talking about is disclaimer. This I'm talking about depression because most of the times it's depression that leads to suicidal ideations. Sometimes people would just have maybe random life problems. For example, na betting and I put my money on the betting things and then all the money is lost. Probably it was money for school or in then I get to just commit suicide. So in my experience, what I've seen is that most people who've committed suicide, it's either they were not even given any signs at all. I'll give an example, a practical example in my father's instance. So he's a happy man. My father was a happy man. Even the day that he committed suicide, it was a whole day of joys, laughing and whatnot. Moving from one place to the other, even watching soccer and whatnot. But then you just hear someone has committed suicide. No signs whatsoever, no prior signs at all. Sometimes people have what we call functional depression. They're even up and down. Mama, I hope today is in Impika, tomorrow she's in Shangombo, working hard. Cash is active depression, functional depression. I'm depressed, but I'm also able to work. So in most cases, what gives away people with suicide? Other people would even talk about it. Other people would say, "How am I in my problems in depth somehow? I'd rather even just kill myself or commit suicide." You just see this person loses the will to live. Most of the times when people lose the will to live, that's when you get to hear that no, they've killed themselves because they believed for themselves that the only way out is committing suicide. So to pinpoint or color blue or black a specific symptom for depression, perhaps in the long days it was easier to cite and say, nah, this person, the way they are looking like they might commit suicide. But nowadays, we have things like social media. People hide in social media. I'm busy posting memes, but I'm depressed. Perhaps my last post on social media before I even killed myself was a meme to make the entire nation laugh. So mostly the giveaway would be that this person loses the will to live and they'll constantly talk about it. Signs like they're saying, no, me, I'd rather die. There's no hope for me. There's nothing to lose. I've got nothing to lose, stuff like that. But all in all, depressive symptoms, like maybe somebody just starts. I don't know if you've heard of people who say, me, when I'm stressed, I eat a lot, like they stress eat. Perhaps they are just depressed and then they are eating a lot and they are gaining weight. You get to see someone has gained a lot of weight and they're like, hey, Muleria, can't show depressed and they are overeating and, just gaining the weight and whatnot. They lose the will to live. They have low moods. Some people you get just find that they are crying without a cause. They don't even know why they are crying. But there's something deep down them that is, causing them to cry. So for you to notice the signs, I think it's not a blue black kind of arrangement. It's more of a subjective matter than it is an objective matter. Some people are different. Some other people blankly talk about it. I'm depressed. I want to kill myself. I'm in this problem. I'd rather kill myself. Other people in silence. That's why you just have to keep a very good eye on people, especially those whom you've seen that there are drastic changes in their behavior or how they interact and relate with people. Then you ask them and probe further to find out, boy, what's going on? You've not been active. then perhaps that person will be open enough to tell them, yeah, this is what I'm going through. I'm thinking of killing myself. And I'll give an example. During the candlelight session, yeah, um, I asked that raise a candle if you've ever had suicidal ideations or if you're having suicidal ideations. And you'd be shocked the number of candles that were risen. And for some instance, you would feel like you know the person. Maybe, for example, I'm standing with Priscilla, and then Priscilla raises the candle too. If you've ever, had suicidal ideations, raise your candle. And she raises her candle. I'm with this person, like, this is my best friend, but she has never mentioned that, me, I'm having suicidal ideation. So you get where I'm going at. I don't think there is like a standard protocol or guideline to say these are the signs and symptoms. Because we might say these are the signs and symptoms of someone's suicidal ideations. Maybe you say, no, they are sad, they are carrying a rope or doom around them. Could have been that in the olden days, that's what they used to do. But nowadays, because of different escapes, different defense mechanisms, you can't really tell. But what can make you just, want to probe further the next person as to what they are feeling is, the changes in behavior that I talked about, a low mood, loss of interest in the things that they used to do, some hypersleep, like others who lose their sleep, insomnia, and all those things. And then those random problems that come about when someone has gone through a situation, maybe they lose money, a huge sum of money that you know that, oh, this thing is going to break this person. Be there for them and just, be mindful and watching them to see how their reaction is and talk about it. But suicide is actually prevented. Sometimes we think, yeah, umuntu ngana pali suicide na lampela my ideas. Talk about it. Some people are going through it, but they don't want to say it. But the moment initiate such conversations, then they feel relieved to even talk about it. So basically, yes. Thank you. I hope I've answered your question. I've talked too much.
You have definitely in depth. Actually, what you said is funny because I think there are people who are afraid to speak about certain things because they feel like they're going to sort of incept an idea into someone. So you're not going to talk about suicide because you feel like once you mention it, then that's when that person will then act upon it. However, it's what you've said. You just need to hit the nail on the head. You need to talk about it, and you never know. You might actually save a life. So it actually brings us to how then can someone take care of themselves? So, I mean, we usually overlook the beauty of life. Sometimes when it's either we are busy with it's either school or work, we have so little time to take care of ourselves. And so when we go through such a very difficult situation, we feel like, you know what, the only outlet is, to commit suicide. But then I'm of the thought that maybe if you know some coping mechanisms or if you have some self-care practices, they could actually help you, just to cope and to avoid heading in that direction. So first of all, is there anything wrong with self-care? Because as young people, as people in Africa, the only self-care that we know sometimes in places like Lusaka is groove. But apart from that, what other self-care practices can young people, adopt so that it helps them just to cope in life? So with regards to mental health and self-care, how can we merge the two?
Okay, great. Thank you very much. In medicine, they used to teach us that take care of yourself first before you take care of your patient. In an event where there is an accident, before you even start thinking of, oh, no, let me save this person is bleeding very much. Look around you. Is there anything that puts you as the practitioner in danger? Address that, then you address the patient's needs. Because chances are very high that you would end up causing more harm to your patients if you're not in the right state yourself as a practitioner. And that's a very principle that I adopt in life. Before I take care of another person, I have to take care of me. And that's self-care. It's not selfishness. Although there's a thin line between selfishness and self-care. But before you take care of anyone else. Just a few days ago, a friend of mine had posted a post on social media on his status to say that he was saying that you can't save everybody. Sometimes you have to give a story. You can't save everybody. And then when I commented on this, on the post, and was like, that's so true. And then he tells me that that was actually meant for you. So I'm like, what do you mean that that was meant for me? And then he's like, I feel like you're constantly taking care of everybody else around you, but not yourself. And any other day I'd refuse. I'll be like, I know, what are you trying to say? But it just dawned on me that I'm constantly in people's no, I don't want to say lies. Like I'm constantly there for people. Anything where like my friend will call me, are you busy for this and this? Oh, okay, let me see what I can move around or schedule for me to accommodate you. But then at the end of the day, I'm like, but is this to what extent? Like to what at what cost? Is it at the cost of my mental health? Is it
Oh,
at the cost of
minds.
my physical health? So, these are questions that we need to ask ourselves. But then, how do you take care of yourself?
Sorry, just one moment, Hope. Is it Salman and Matilda? Are you able to mute your mics? Salman, Amir, and Matilda.
Are you able to mute?
Yeah, so my powers have gone to Matilda. I dropped off, so Matilda is now the host. Matilda,
Hello, can you get me?
yes, Hope I can get you. Matilda, Matilda,
Yeah,
Matilda, kindly mute Salman's mic. No. Just one moment, Hope.
we're good?
I think we're good.
Okay,
Sorry about
great.
that.
No, it's okay. Yes, so as I was saying, like you have to ensure that you take care of yourself first before you even think of any other person. You know, at the end of the day, I always tell people, last, everyone is going to be fine. You can't always help everybody at the expense of your own mental health. Saying no, setting your boundaries, set your boundaries. Self care is setting your boundaries. You know that I can only stretch this far, and that's okay. You don't have to think, no, if I don't do this, this person will think I'm a bad person, but at what expense? Always do the little things that make you happy. If you think, no, me, just by virtue of just taking an evening walk, it makes me feel happy. Take those small steps that just make you feel happy. And pouring into yourself more is self-care. Capacitating yourself in areas that you'd want to develop is self-care. Say, for example, you want to take on, short courses, you want to learn how to bake, you want to learn how to, do all those different things. That's self-care. The things that, make you smile when you just by the thought of it, that is self-care. And one more important thing is that self-care also means that you have to be able to say no without feeling bad. I'm not saying you have to be cruel, but what I mean is you have to be able to say, no, I'd love to commit to this, but at this point, it's not serving me to a certain degree. I think I had a conversation with Melody. It should have been last year when I just came back from my third trip, because there was a particular time that I was literally out of the country almost every week, and I was so fatigued, like it was so draining physically. And then the moment I came back, I got an invitation for another event. And it took me to just realize, say, Hope, it's not, I can't pour into everybody. I have to ensure that I also just, have a break for myself and say, no, guys, as much as I would love to be in this space, I cannot at this particular time. Sometimes I just refuse to attend certain events because I just want to sleep in and, just, relax. And also, I'm a Christian and I love talking about God literally everywhere I go, unless but it's a taboo to talk about God, but either ways I'll still talk about it. For me, prayer revives me. Like all the time. There are days that I'm just feeling so weak. There are days that I'm just feeling, like things are not going the way I would love them to go. But when I pray, I feel so revived because then I'm talking to a power greater than I am. If you're Muslim, please pray to Allah. If you are Hindu, pray to whatever God that you pray to. But I feel like just the fact that you believe in a power greater than you is so reviving because there's a point in your life where you just say, I can't handle this. I can't deal with this. So I take it to God in prayer and just tell him to say, God, I cannot do this. You alone is the one who's going to take, the burden away. And most of the times when I tell people this, they're like, how do you do this? You do things so effortlessly. And then I'm like, no, it's never effortlessly because, every time before I do something, I have to ensure that I pray about it. I just say, like, God, go before me. I can't do this. And that's most of the times why I feel like when I'm doing activities that are so strenuous, sometimes I don't even feel so tired because sometimes you just look at like, wait, how was I able to do this without feeling stressed or being tired? But then you remember that I handed it back to God and He's the one who's handling this, not me. So that self-care is also just, believing in a power greater than you to be able to, just take on certain things that you can't as a person. Eat well, especially, for my busy people. You would want to be in every place, but then you are not eating. You are just maybe drinking water unless you are fasting. But if you are not deliberately praying and fasting, don't starve yourself. Eat. Find time to, just eat, nourish your body. Your brain functions on glucose. If you're not giving it food, it will shut down. You won't be able to think properly. Then at the end of the day, you start thinking, no, I'm fatigued, I'm depressed. Can't you're just hungry? Sometimes they're not even depressed. I don't know if you've seen a meme that says sometimes they're not depressed. When last did you eat ice cream? Make your body feel nice. Make your body feel nice and just be able to develop yourself, pour into yourself more often. That's self-care. Thank you.
Yeah, and actually the point that you mentioned, it sounds funny, but it's actually true. Simple foods like chocolate, ice cream do actually make people happy. They do activate hormones. Other people like to call them the happy hormones. And so it's really about the simple things in life. You do not need to book a trip to Dubai for you to feel happy about your life. You can just go out with a friend and have ice cream, go out alone, have ice cream, or do whatever makes you happy. Is it football that you play? Is it just taking a walk? Sometimes just being outside, taking a walk, absorbing nature can also help you. So when we talk about self-care, I feel like a lot of people misinterpret it for, flashy things, going on a vacation somewhere that they can't afford. But no, you need to work within your means. And so things like ice cream, as you've mentioned, can make someone happy. I think I used to have a saying when I was younger in high school. I used to say ice cream fixes everything. I had an embarrassing moment at a point in class. When you're having presentations, I was with my friend during music class and we had to sing. And the singing didn't go so well because we do not know how to sing. And so after that embarrassing moment, we just went to buy ice cream. And that's how that motto just came up. Ice cream fixes everything. And so it was just as simple as that. Now, if there's someone who's listening and they're like, okay, Hope, well, I've been having such thoughts but I don't know how to get rid of them. I try, but every now and then they creep up. What would you tell them? What advice would you give to them?
Okay, I don't want to use this term, but I'm just making reference to it to drive a point home. You've heard of the saying, an idle mind is the devil's workshop, right? So that same principle applies to if you don't feed your mind with something that is counteracting those negative thoughts, they'll keep on building. Let's say, for example, you are having suicidal ideations. Then you proceed and start watching documentaries that are talking about 1,000 ways to die. Definitely, you have fed on the thought of suicide, and furthermore capacitating it with how the knowledge of how to eliminate yourself. So whenever you have negative thoughts, replace them with positive thoughts. Sometimes it's never easier to silence a negative thought as opposed to feeding on a positive thought. But then the little steps, the little things that you do towards that matter. So if you know that, okay, at this point I'm having suicidal ideations, let me talk to a person who's a positive person. You talk to that person. Or if you're going to watch something or read a book, let it be something that counteracts your thoughts. The Bible is one of them. If you're having such thoughts, the Bible has everything. It's like a manual of life, like every single thing that you go through. Nothing, even the Bible says there's nothing new under the sun. These days, there's even AI. If you don't know where to find that particular scripture, go on ChatGPT and type, I am feeling like this. What verse can cheer me up? It will come. Feed your mind with something positive, because you know the devil thrives in isolation. The moment you start having those thoughts and then you're like, no, let me go and sit alone, I don't want to interact with people, all of a sudden you become this forced introvert, then the devil will thrive. Those negative voices will be, nobody cares, just kill yourself. When initially, when you have those thoughts and then you go and find a friend, I'm like, oh, okay, Matilda, today I want to talk to Matilda, I'll talk to Matilda. You get to find that, Matilda is even talking about something that actually even helps you. No, unknowingly sometimes. So don't um, isolate yourself. If you're having those feelings or those thoughts, please be able to counteract them with positive thoughts. Sometimes it sounds cliche, like affirmations are really important. And the affirmations that even actually more powerful are the ones that you say to yourself, as opposed to, somebody telling you the things. Because perhaps the person will never tell you, but if you start, self motivating yourself and say, no, Hope, I am beautiful, even when people say I'm ugly. Me, I'm beautiful. You know how those people are so confident, and I love that about them. Even when they know that they are not capable of doing something, they'll hype themselves. Recently, there's a video going on at Tabana Sugar or stuff like that. The person is hyping themselves, and then you look at this person. Not to say that the person is not fine or not, like God has never made anybody who's ugly, but just the virtue of how this person is hyping themselves. You even tell to say that for you to come with a negative thought to this person, you have to be strong for them to adopt it. So be able to affirm yourself. Talk to somebody. Talking to somebody sometimes what it does, that person may not even have the solution to your problem, but just by you, just letting it out, you get to find that, oh, I actually feel better at the end of the day. Sometimes association is very important. It plays a very important role to our psychology. In an event where, Priscilla, you are my friend, and me, all I do is complain. I complain about everything, and all the time I'm complaining about everything. You tell me this, I am always complaining. Even you, by association, you know that Hope is not the person that I will go to if I need motivation. I have to find another person. But then in an event where you're having suicide ideations, then you come to me and say, Hope, this is what I'm going through. And I say, yeah, you are going to win, or win. And then at the end of the day, you think, oh, so this is a normal thing. So by association, then you get to, have certain ideations, and then you have similar negative thoughts. So the association is very important. Find people that resonate with your vision, that resonate to where. And also, this is a plea to us people who are friends to it. We are all friends to somebody. We are all sisters or brothers to somebody. We are all, someone to somebody. Let's be those safe spaces where people somebody thinks about. That first instance, there are those people, but if they're in a situation, they don't even know who they can call. Because if they think about the list of friends that they've surmounted, no one is even capable of, even just talking them out of a situation. But let's be those people in other people's lives where when I have a problem, I know if I call Priscilla, she's going to tell me something that, makes sense. So basically, that's what I can say. And also, family is very important, and community. Family, over the years, through experience, I've redefined family. Family is not the blood that ties us together, but the bond that we've intentionally built. For me, if you ask me about my family, the people that probably if today I needed a kidney who donate a kidney to me are very few, because that's a family. But the people who I call like family, the people who've raised me are probably my friends, because through interactions and through deliberate building of good relationships, I've even been able to overcome a lot of things. The other day I was telling my friend, I've got a very good friend of mine, and I was telling her to say, there was that time, I think 2 months ago, I was in a very bad space mentally. And I was telling her, I'm like, do you know the only reason I was able to survive that moment is because of the friendships that I have. The way when we're here, we're always laughing, regardless of the situation. So we just need to deliberately build these communities ourselves, and, just be deliberate about who we pick. Let's pick our friends and associations the way we pick beans. We pick a fiat sara, come on. Let's do that even when we are picking our associations and friends. Let's build stronger communities, because even if you go to maybe a mental health hospital, they'll tell you, they'll write it down as a prescription that this person needs associations, this family or a community to be able to be better. So it's very important that we keep strong families around, strong communities and strong friendships, so that we are just able to cope even as we encounter different mental health. As we'll find them, whether we want it or not. We'll definitely, go through these things. But then what matters is how you bounce back and who's there to help you bounce back. Thank you very much.
I like that. We are always going to bounce back from, even if it seems bigger than life, you are always able to bounce back. And also your association really does matter. I think one thing that we do not really accept as human beings, especially for some of us like me who call ourselves introverts or ambiverts, one of the two, is we sometimes want to isolate ourselves and want to say we are okay without people, but the nature of a human being is that we are social human beings. And so even as Priscilla, when I say I'm an introvert, I'm an ambivert, and I can survive on my own, I will be honest, when I'm around people, I actually feel better. I feel you're able to interact with people, because when you're alone, there are too many thoughts going, around your mind. And sometimes, we are our own worst enemy. So you will sit with yourself and feed yourself with all sorts of lies about yourself. But when you're with other people, right, if you've chosen the right people to be with, they will fill you up, and you'll be able to encourage each other. So it's what we're talking about. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And so when you have a community and a network of people who are there for you, you guys can fill each other's cups. Don't be the only one to fill people's cups like Hope. But I am sure Hope is learning to fill her cup as well.
Fortunately, it's the hard way. I'm learning.
Yeah. So now we've had challenges with the network. Apologies to everyone who's on the call, but thank you so much for joining us. If you do have any questions for Hope, even as we are winding up, please do drop them in the chat box so that she can attend to them before she leaves. Once again, apologies for our poor network today. But remember, I did mention that we are recording this session, so we will upload it on our social media platforms. That is on Thrive Aid, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So once again, thank you so much for joining us. Now, even as we wind up, Hope, what are your final words for everyone who's listening right now, and even someone who's going to listen to this later on, who's going to listen to the recordings? What final words do you have to say?
Okay, I think for me this has always been the hardest thing to do. But one thing that I would want to say to everybody on this call or anyone who will listen later on is always remember that you're never alone. There is always literally always somebody willing to listen to you. I, for one, I would rather listen to your problems all night long as opposed to come to your funeral. And I do believe that everything that we feel like it's heavy for us to carry, there's another person who's capable of carrying it. So, meaning every time I have something that I feel like it's heavy, I talk to my friend, I talk to somebody, I talk to a mental health practitioner. I would also want to take this opportunity to demystify Chainama Hills Hospital. Chainama Hills Hospital is a perfect place to go to as far as mental health services are concerned. There you'll find qualified psychiatrists, qualified doctors. It's so different from some of us are not even mental health experts. We are just advocates, and the only thing that we can do to you for you is to speak out for you. We can encourage you, and our small our small certificates, psychosocial certificates that we have. But Chinama has doctors. They've got, these people who've, their specialty is mental health. And they are the best people to actually attend to you. So if at all you ever feel like, okay, maybe people in your life are never listening to you, please take that bold step. Go to Chinama. Go and have, somebody to talk to. I hear most of people whom I've come across would rather go to a bar. They'll sit and talk to a stranger, and at the end of the day they feel better. So what I'm saying is you're never alone. There's always somebody willing to listen, always somebody. And I just want to encourage somebody that suicide is not an answer, it's not a solution. What suicide does is it doesn't take away your problems, but it transfers them to the next person. It transfers them to the people that you love, the people that love you. I'll give an example of my father's suicide. So he commits suicide, but then his children remain. So we are all, grieving, loss and grief and stuff. And then at the end of the day, 3 years of, unattended to depression, PTSD, and anxiety is on me. But one person thought they ended their problems, but because they took themselves out of the people who loved them earlier, it now becomes a whole bunch of problems. It's a cycle. So at the end of the day, let us always remember that you are never alone. There's always somebody to listen to. Thrive Aid, for example, has been doing quite an amazing work as far as mental health is concerned. Follow them on their social media platforms, talk to somebody, and just let somebody listen to you. In case you want to talk to somebody who's not in your circle, you think no, they'll look down on me. Talk to a stranger. Fine, there are so many mental health spaces now, which is a very good thing because then we have so many options. But at the end of the day, my point is, please, you are never, you are loved, you are enough, you're never a burden, and suicide is not an option. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Hope. It really is a word of encouragement. I'll call you if I have a problem.
I'm here, definitely, I'm here.
Yeah, so I've seen we've got, I think, two questions in the chat box before you go. That's from Erica Nambe. And Erica is saying, we'll try to understand. So she's saying those people who answer that you haven't even started having bigger responsibilities and you're complaining when you are going through something, how do you deal with such comments? So I'm assuming, you complain about something and it's what you said, Hope someone is like, I think you're even better. I have a bigger problem. Sometimes it's also with older people. If you tell them something, they'll be like, you know what, kwali befukulu, kulo money, meaning there are bigger things in life. Grow up and you will see. So it's kind of like they are disregarding your feelings and what you're trying to communicate. So Erica is asking, how do you deal with such comments?
Okay, thank you very much for this question, Erica. And these were the things that we were talking about. People want to magnify their problems above others. And they are just those people who are like, they just feel their problems are the ones that are valid. It's how some come to me and say if their boyfriend dumps them and they are really sulking and they are, down and beaten about it. Then me will think, you, have you ever seen problems? Me, my father died of suicides. You know, he died when I was a teenager. Do you know how much things I've been able to suffer? You don't have to downplay other people's problems. What I went through, another person can see like those are minor issues, people survive. So at the end of the day, this is what we're talking about. And you honestly start thinking my problem is not big enough. First thing calculate. And then another thing is they instill anxiety in you constantly thinking, so if I grow up, I'm going to find more problems. I might as well not even grow up. Let me just kill myself. You get those things. So for me, how I would deal or handle with such people is I would walk away. I would not want to talk to those to people like that with my problems. If they are my friends, let's keep it at friendship level. Let's, talk about other things. But as far as my problems are concerned, I think I would avoid telling such people because then they will start instilling a certain fear in me about, future responsibilities. And also, they are not providing a solution. So you are better off, moving on to the next person who's got a solution for what you are going through. So that's why I was even emphasizing on being deliberate about the people that we let into our space or the people that we follow into their spaces. So with such people, please, by all means, them. And when they start complaining about the negativity, we will no, let's change the topic because clearly you don't have anything to tell me that will build me. And most of the times, it's those people that you look up to. You think they'll tell you something proper, but they tell you something that is so negative. And because you look up to them, you think, no, they are right because this is my role model. I look up to this person. I might as well just do what they are saying. And we do this unknowingly. Sometimes we never even know that we are actually, following the energy, the negative energy that has been thrown our way. So please just avoid such people and uh, be deliberate about the people that we talk to because not everyone we talk to has the best interest at heart for us. Thank you. I hope I've answered your question, Erica.
Yes, thank you so much, Erica. Please do let us know in the chat box if your question has been answered. But thank you so much for that, Hope. I think there's one more question from Salman Amir. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. And it says, what of those people who feel people will always misjudge them? So I assume he's trying to allude to, okay, how does someone who feel, judged? So there are people who feel like if I share something, I might be judged. How should they approach that?
Okay, thank you very much, Salman, for that question. And I think it still goes back to what Erica's question was. And especially, excuse me, especially when we want, human beings. I was just having this conversation a few hours ago with a colleague. That human beings thrive on approval. No matter how much you're going to run away from that, as human beings thrive on approval. If I want Priscilla to be my friend, I want her to approve of everything that I'm doing. So even as I come to Priscilla with a situation, if she judges me or she misjudges me, it's going to affect me so badly as opposed to a stranger misjudging me. Because then this is a person that I hold dear to me, and I want this person to approve me. So this is the part where I was encouraging to say it's even better you talk to a stranger as opposed to someone you think they'll misjudge you, because misjudgment then comes in when we are talking about somebody you've held in a certain regard. You can't feel judged if a random person looks down on you. You can't, because you don't know this person. But then those people that are in your life, you constantly feel like, no, they are judging me. So what I would encourage is seek external help. If the people within your circle will misjudge you because they have a certain standard of expectation of you, you are safer going, to an external person. Like I said, you visit a mental health facility or a clinic where they're offering mental health services. Here in Zambia, we have Chainama Hills Hospital, we have the University Teaching Hospital. If you're in Zambia, please just go through. The clinics are open, and these people are willing to help you. They are qualified to help you. Have that conversation with them. Sometimes all you need is just to talk. You don't necessarily have to have a headache or have, a visible wound for you to be able to go to a clinic, because even the health systems have policies that speak into primary health care, and mental health is a package of primary health care. So if you go there with those situations, go and explain to them. They'll be able to help. They're obligated to do so. If they don't, they're violating your human rights as well as going against the healthcare policies. So in a nutshell, when you feel misjudged by people, change your audience, change the people that you explain your situations to, or the people that you talk to with regards to your problems, because then you constantly now start hiding your problems because you are feeling like they'll judge you. This is why you tend to find that people are committing suicide. I'll give an example, especially men. Men are more scared of shame as opposed to death. That is why when they want to commit suicide, most of the successful or completed suicidal cases are done by men. Females, no, you find them, that's when they took poison, and maybe the poison that they took wasn't sufficient enough. But men will go to extreme. At the candlelight service, I was given an example of a man from my hometown who killed himself using explosives. So for them, they'll go the extreme way because they don't want to feel ashamed. Even in an event where that attempt of suicide fails, people will laugh at them. So they're scared of the shame. First of all, the shame of them struggling, then the shame of them failing to kill themselves. It's really a tough time it's a tough world for men. But at the end of the day, you have to know that the more you keep the things inside you, the more you are not helping yourself. At the end of the day, we see people dying, killing themselves. So if you feel like you'll be misjudged, change the audience that uh, you talk about your problems with. I hope I've answered that question, Mr. Armin. Salman, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Hope. Someone, you will tell us if the question has been answered. But aside from that, unfortunately, we're in the dying minute of this webinar. We've really discussed a lot. We've talked about a lot, and we've had a lot of network challenges, but we've muddled through somehow. And I'm sure that someone has gotten something out there. And I like the engagement just from our audience as well. Thank you so much for asking your questions and just for the support and for being here up to this time. So thank you for that. Now, I always like to end my webinars with quotes, with a quote. And so I'm going to share this one, although the author is not known, but it says, "You are stronger than you think, braver than you believe, and more loved than you know." Right? So we've had this very interactive discussion with Hope. And I think something that you also just need to take away is that you are stronger than you think. You are braver than you believe, and you are more loved than you know. You might not think people, do not actually love you. You might think that you are not as strong as you think, but trust me, you can overcome anything that life throws at you. You can brave the odds. And so put your mental health first, put self-care first. I always say this. Putting your health first does not mean you are selfish. So even if it seems like selfishness to other people, put your health first. Put your mental health first. So to Hope, thank you so much for availing us your time. I mean, you're not even in Lusaka, you've traveled away, but then you are busy. You've had a very busy schedule this week as well. But you still made time for us, and we do not take that for granted. We really appreciate your time, and I believe that someone watching this right now, or when they watch the recording, has gotten something out of this. And once more, thank you so much to everyone who joined us. I hope to have you during our next Thrive Aid Wellness webinar. So from me, Priscilla Muziamba, I've been your moderator for this session. See you next time, and bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.